What is up, party people? We got One Piece, chapter 1125 with us today. We are going to be reading through the comment section of the latest video and just talking about what you guys have to say coming off of this latest chapter. So yeah, with that being said, let's get to it. Alright, so as you guys know, we start with the top comments and just work our way down and just find some stuff in between too. So the first comment we have this week though says, I can't believe Saturn really thought everything was about to be sweet after fumbling just about everything on Egghead Island. All right, hear me out. I'm going to defend Saturn for 2 seconds, and only 2 seconds, because any longer than that, I'll just catch on fire. But Saturn set out the day before with a certain goal. You know, he said, yo, I want Mother Flame, I want York, I want Punk Records, and to his benefit, you know, to none of his dismay, he actually got all three of those things. Did he lose things in the process, though? Did he make a lot of fumbles? Yes, you know, who doesn't, right? We saw the Kuma flashback. You know, he was running, he fell over, but he got back up and he kept on going. I would say Saturn's kind of the same way. You know, he got what he wanted, but there were a lot of L's along that pathway. But yeah, Saturn, like I said, he looked horrible on this island. If you really stack up his sheet and just put every L he's ever received here, it would be insurmountable. Like, that is crazy. Like, between the message, Bonnie's powers, Luffy's escape, you know, Oda, like, I keep on bringing this up, I'm a broken record, but Oda even went into chapter 1125 and gave this man one more L. Oda just came out and dropped the fact that Saturn is the one who allowed Emmet to survive the past 200 years. It is crazy how bad this guy looks. But yeah, he fumbled about everything here on Egghead Island. And maybe, you know, this might be like, not cope, but maybe Saturn has seen the nicer side of Emu, so that's why he thought he'd be okay. But the Emu that he was expecting to see isn't the Emu that he got in this chapter, that's for sure. I think that Emu gives the Gorosei part of his powers. When he took away Saturn's powers and gave it to Garling, Saturn aged to his real age. This confirms that the 5 elders were given immortality from Emu. So it's not confirmed that Garling has powers yet, or even has Saturn's powers, but I do agree with the notion that Emu is giving the Gorosei their powers. And honestly, I'm gonna take it a step further, and I would say that Emu is also giving the Holy Knights powers as well. Maybe not immortality, but I do think they have like a smidgen of Emu's powers, right? I personally just feel like that would make a lot of sense. You know, the Holy Knights have that power to distinguish them from the regular celestial dragons, and then the Gorosei maybe have immortality that distinguishes them from the Holy Knights. You know, obviously we have no idea how the world government actually functions with Emu, but yeah, I do think that Emu is supplying all of these guys their drugs per se. As far as the reason why I'm not a big fan of Garling having Saturn's specific transformation, that's simply because there are so many cool, you know, creatures and mythological monsters out there in the world that making Garling the second Gyuki kind of feels like a waste. And of course, you know, we saw what the Gyuki has to offer. It's not that impressive. Unless Garling just takes that form and just goes crazy with it, I think it's time to say goodbye to the Gyuki. And as far as the Gorosei goes, they don't exactly have a theme when it comes to their monsters. Yes, Gyuki, the Itsumare, and Bakotsu are yokai. The Hoki, or the Feng Shi, that's a Chinese legend. And then we have the Sandworm, and, you know, people want to say it's the Mongolian Deathworm. Yeah, like, Oda is kind of like dipping his toes into a lot of different mythological ponds right now. So reusing the Gyuki, I don't think that's going to happen. But, you know, that's just me personally. We have no idea yet. As far as Garling getting powers from Emu, I could see that. I feel like it already happened, right? I feel like the minute Emu promotes you, boom, you're done, right? Like, I mean, Emu's in the Holy Land. It's not like Emu has to travel far to give Garling his powers. I mean, they're in the same dang castle. So yeah, I think that's totally possible. So this comment says, I hope Emu is less lenient with his staff. Literally everything going wrong was Saturn never doing his job. Yeah, I mean, I would be up to here if I was Emu. Like, dude, you sent this guy out to get the job done. You thought you could trust him. You know, this guy's been a part of your staff for over 200 years. Egghead Island was his responsibility. You send him to Egghead Island with 30,000 insects, being the Marines, Kizaru, 9 VAs, and all the shebang. And he still fumbled. He brought in his homeboys, the other 4 Gorosei, and they still fumbled. So yeah, I feel like Emu definitely needs to be less lenient, especially given how the world is going right now. And I kind of wonder how the Garling emu thing went down. You know, like imagine if Garling threw Saturn under the bus saying, hey, emu, have you seen Egg Island? I could do way better. You should get rid of that guy, right? So I want to see how that all went down. I want to see Garling's connections with emu, because right now, Garling kind of feels like a teacher's pet in a way, right? Just the way he showed up and he kind of flexed a little bit. He said, hey, what's up, my fellow Elder Stars? You know, it's very patronizing. So I want to see how Garling is going to take charge of the staff that has been failing their jobs up until this point. So this comment is in response to the one we just read. It says, legit, he could have killed Bonnie, but he was just freaking talking, pinned down Sanji, Frankie, etc., and could have killed them, but was standing around. Could have killed Luffy when he was exhausted from fighting Kizaru, but he was just staring and doing nothing. Saturn was a liability. Other Gorosei really put in work. Nasujuro landed and started running around the island doing work. Marcus Mars was flying around blowing up and doing something. I like how it just put doing something. Warkuri was just putting in work. Jupiter also did something. Okay, I can kind of expand upon this a little bit more. Marcus Mars flew up to the labo phase. He was looking for the broadcast signal. He was blowing up buildings without hesitation looking for it. He also talked to York as well. Like, he had a whole thing. As far as Warkuri, he was fighting Luffy. You know, this guy was over here tanking Red Rocks. He also tackled Emeth. Yeah, he was doing things. As far as Nasujuro, when he was running around the island, he incapacitated all 50 Mark III pacifistas. He froze them. He froze their circuitry, and then he went after the giant ship. That's a big W. Jupiter was like sucking in the Seraphim. He was also trying to fight Luffy as well. So, you know, you got to give him a pass for that one. But yeah, as far as Saturn goes, like, he had so many chances to land the killing blow, and he just never did. I remember one scene specifically that was just absolutely crazy, but Saturn was holding Bonnie up, and all the Marines around him were, like, pointing their guns at Bonnie. And then when Saturn went in to kill Bonnie, what he did was, instead of just, like, crushing her to death, he threw her on the ground and then tried to stab her, and then that's when Kuma showed up. And it's like, Saturn, you had Bonnie, dude. What are you doing? Of course, this is like shonen villain stuff, right? You know, in every anime, even in every, you know, cartoon or movie, the villains just love to monologue. They always love to do things in the most roundabout manner. So I love that Oda decided to kill Saturn off, saying, hey, you guys thought Saturn was silly? He is silly, and Emu's gonna put an end to that nonsense right here and now. All right, so this next comment kind of points out the disparity between reading multiple scans, because the one I read said that Lucci, when walking onto the ship, says that he killed Stussy. But in TCB, Lucci says that Stussy was killed in action. And, you know, Young Smokey right here points it out. And then right below, we apparently have a TCB translator in the comment section, and they say that it's actually ambiguous. So TCB went with killed in action, as it could imply A, he's covering for Kaku, B, he's believing Kaku's lie, or C, Stussy did actually die off screen, or D, many other things, which is the purpose of the ambiguity of killed in action. And I like that, right? I like when TCB comes out and they say things like this, or any scan side really, right? I'm always a big fan of translator notes, right? I'm reading through it, and then all of a sudden, like, there's a thing on the side that catches your eye, and it's the translator coming in saying, hey, this is why I said this. So yeah, it looks like it is very ambiguous as to what happened to Stussy still. I personally don't think she died off screen. I think that'd be kind of a waste, really. You know, maybe Lucci did do it, right? He seems like the type of guy that would, but I feel like that'd be a waste for Stussy's character, especially when we don't know what her powers even are yet. Like, bro, did she eat a bat devil fruit? Is she a bat? Or was the original Miss Buckingham Stussy a bat? Like, we have no clue. And then plus she had that wholesome conversation with Kaku and with Edison. So I really don't think we should end it on that note. So I hope she did survive, and I hope that Kaku is just lying to Lucci. And also, I hope that Lucci knows that Kaku is lying as well. You know, I feel like they're best friends, and maybe Lucci can sniff out the lie, and then he's like, hey, I'll just let that one slip under the radar. Of course, that's just my own opinion. You know, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that. What do you think happened to Stussy here? Does Lucci believe Kaku? Did Kaku tell him the truth even? I would love to hear all your thoughts and opinions down below. I thought it was kind of funny that Mars was still standing even though Saturn's chair was empty, and that even though Garling is the newest elder, he got to sit down right away. Yeah, I mean, Garling just wanted to flex on him, right? He really went into that room and said, hey, your friend of 200 years is dead, and I'm that guy. Because not only did he sit down in his chair, dude, he sat down and threw his legs up without hesitation. My God. Right, that's gotta hurt. That's definitely gotta hurt. You know, like Mars didn't want to steal that seat. You know, he was maybe eyeballing it like, man, my legs are tired, but you know my good friend Saturn's gonna show back up any minute now, and he's gonna sit his ass right there. But that didn't happen. All right, so the next comment is actually a theory about the bridge. All right, my immediate thought is that the bridges are meant to form a structure resembling the world government symbol. Maybe more of an X, not a plus. Maybe the structure is a summoning or ritual symbol, kind of like in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, or even Turles and his tree from Dragon Ball Z. Dude, I love Turles, man. Shout out to Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. His EZA was amazing. This could also explain why Joy Boy seemed to have wanted the flooding to happen, as it would help hide the structure underwater. Okay. Huh, so I don't know how that would relate to the bridge, because the bridge was built after Joy Boy. But as far as Joy Boy hiding things under the 200-meter rise of water 900 years ago, I kind of like that. And I mean, I feel like that is the case. That might even be where Laugh-Tale is, or, you know, somehow related to the treasure in general. I definitely feel like this is a comment and or theory we'll have to revisit in the future. When Dragon finally finishes his rebellion against the world government, all his waiting will have paid off because he left the Marines allegedly when he saw and or confronted the corruption. Now, to keep the battle from being needlessly long or cruel, he waited for the world government to weaken and the Marines to lose faith, ensuring his victory. If I'm right, maybe he saw corruption and called it out, but Garp got involved, which forced him to go AWOL. That, in some places in the world, is seen as the greatest crime, earning him the label of the world's most dangerous criminal and planting the seeds for his rebellion. So with the title of world's most dangerous criminal or most wanted criminal, I feel like that could go a lot of different ways. You know, it could be more than just that is what I'm trying to say. Like, Dragon in this story is a very rare character. You know, when people set out onto the open seas, they want to find treasure. They want to find the One Piece. They want to find, you know, something out there. But Dragon specifically wants to antagonize the world government. He wants to start a war against the celestial dragons. So I feel like that is another reason why he earned that title. And also, thinking about it now, but I bet Dragon's another reason why Akainu does not favor traitors or people who leave, you know, the battlefield. And the reason I bring this up is because back at Marineford, Akainu saw some Marine trying to, you know, flee the battlefield saying, oh, I have a wife and kids, you know, I got to get out of here. You know, Akainu did not spare that guy. So maybe that brought up some bad memories with Dragon since Dragon went AWOL. He's like, oh, not again. I'd rather just kill you right now. But yeah, as far as Dragon goes, I feel like, you know, adding on more nuance to the first part as well, I don't think Dragon even had the resources to fight back then. You know, back when O'Hara happened, he was like, hey, Vegapunk, why don't you join me? You know, I want to change the world. I want to do some stuff. But Vegapunk said, hey, you got nothing, dude. You got no funds. You can't do anything. But the Dragon of today, though, he's got all of that, man. He's got the funding. He's got the Revolutionary Army. He has a lot more than he did in the past, which is also why I think he waited as well, right? Adding on to all this nuance, yeah, like this is the perfect time for the Revolutionaries to actually strike. Now that Saturn is dead, will Blackbeard's plan work with Katarina Devon? We have no clue. The problem with this question is that we don't know what Blackbeard's plan truly is. You know, did he want to invade Marie-Joie? Did he want to disguise himself as one of the Gorsei and, you know, see Emu, right? Like, or did he simply want to go dupe somebody from across town? You know, did he want to get control of the Seraphim? Or did he want to see if he could copy Saturn's, you know, crazy Gyuki form with Katarina Devon? We have no clue yet, but I feel like Blackbeard, it feels like he's the man of 1,000 plans. He's like the New World version of Captain Kuro. Like, I feel like he's always scheming, and even though Saturn is dead, I feel like Blackbeard will still get some use out of Saturn's body. But of course, that's just me being a little bit optimistic. So right below, they say Garling is taking the title aspect of scientific defense to a new level now that he needs to protect York. Yeah, what a hell of a job, right? Would you rather protect Vegapunk or protect York? I'm gonna tell you right now, York's gonna be a lot easier to protect, especially given the fact that York wants to be a celestial dragon. Dude, Vegapunk had his own island, you know, across the seas. York wants to come to the Holy Land. The main thing I'm kind of wondering about right now, though, is whether or not York will enjoy being a celestial dragon, because she is coming in at their lowest point, right? Akainu just fought Kuma up there. You know, the reverie just happened and a lot of buildings are destroyed. A lot of slaves escaped. And not to mention, the Revs destroyed their food supply. York is an eater. Dude, York eats a lot of food. She's gonna get there and realize that they have nothing to eat. You know, these guys are, you know, eating 1 meal a day. York was eating 6 meals a day because she was eating for all the Vegapunks. You know, you put York on a diet and what's gonna happen? I don't think York is gonna like it up there. You know, it's like one of those situations where the grass is always greener on the other side. And now that York is about to hop the fence, I think she's going to regret it a little bit. Dragon, Witheria, and Vegapunks are going to work together to create large artificial cloud cities for people to escape to, or use a form of this cloud tech plus weather tech to make a stealthy attack on Marie Joie. But they need power, electricity, and that is when Vegapunk makes a call to his moon robots and makes a deal with Enel. He comes back down to Earth to help Dash fight, and during his time skip, he has been training in the ways of hockey and unlocked advanced observation and armament. I don't hate this idea, and the main reason why is because Enel has to come back into the story at some point. We just don't know how. So I think tying Enel in with Vegapunk makes the most sense, especially given the fact that the automaton that Enel is currently hanging out with, they were made by Dr. Tsukimi, who grew up on the same island as Dr. Vegapunk. So maybe Enel and Vegapunk do have a connection. We just don't know yet. You know, Vegapunk hasn't talked too much about the moon or anything in space. So I do think it'd be really interesting if Oda does bring him back in with Dr. Vegapunk. You know, I feel like there would have to be some explaining to do there. But yeah, as far as Enel with Vegapunk and Dragon, that would be an insane combo, but hey, we are in the final stages of One Piece. Everything has to happen somehow, right? The bridges simply connect the 4 seas. We already know that Tequila Wolf is in the East Blue, so the other bridges would be in the North, West, and South respectively. And you know what? I like that. We'll go with that. I didn't think about the bridges too hard, to be honest. So getting this explanation, you know, Tequila Wolf is in the east, the others are in the other 3. I think that makes the most sense. And the main thing I'm wondering right now about the bridges is what kind of vehicles do the Celestial Dragons have to travel across the bridges, right? Because I thought about that and I was like, wait a minute. When you think of a bridge in real life, it's like, oh, you know, you're going to hop in a car, a bus, a bike, and you're just going to travel across it. But as far as the Celestial Dragons go, do they have some kind of like, you know, moped or car up there at the red line? Or are they simply going to use slaves to, you know, transport themselves? I have no clue how that's going to work. And that's why I think a bridge is so fascinating, right? It's not like they have a sea train up there, you know, where it could just, you know, take them around the whole East Blue or West Blue. No. It's just a giant bridge. Jamal says, Sai, I always thought that Emu was immortal because of a past user of Law's fruit. After today, I doubt that. It seems like Emu is not only immortal, but can give immortality to others and take it back at will. He seems to have the devil fruit for real. What I thought of after reading the chapter and posting this initial video was that this power kind of reminds me of Gear 5th. Of course, though, I am biased when I say that because I have my own theory about Emu and how they have like a cartoon devil fruit, just like Luffy's, that can parallel him. But the reason I thought of Gear 5th is because after Luffy is done using Gear 5th, he becomes an old man. And when you think about it, right, we had like the black flames or like the black magic leave Saturn's body, and he became an old man too. So it's like, wait a minute, like, is there something more to this? And the reason I like thinking about Luffy's fruit is because in the story, there's been many instances of, you know, drugs or other characters who power up, and they're kind of reminiscent of Luffy's Gear 5th, right? Like I talked about the Minks and how they have the white hair and the red eyes. You know, we have Lunarians with the white hair and fire. They don't have the red eyes. And then we also have the energy steroids of Fishman Island. That was a gift and a royal treasure. And that made Hody Jones get the white hair and red eyes. And then he became old after it was done. And it's like, yo, like something's here, man. I feel like there is going to be some kind of connection between Luffy's Sun God Nika fruit and whatever the hell Emu has. As far as Emu's immortality specifically, I feel like that is due to the Ope Ope no Mi from the past. I think that still could be the case, and the Gorosei just simply have a different type of immortality that just ties itself all back to Emu. Like, imagine Emu is the true immortal of the verse, and then he simply gave like pseudo immortality to the Gorosei, and maybe even the Holy Knights, since we don't really know what they're all about yet. So right below, we have Cloud, and they say, my take on this would be another Hito Hito fruit model, Lilith, the Queen of Demons. Hey, not bad. Hey, that would tie in Lily. But, you know, personally, I'm a big fan of like the moon god, right? Sun versus moon. Like, we got a lot of planets up here. But then again, I guess Garling kind of is the moon, so that'd be kind of weird. But yeah, I'm liking all the theories that people are having nowadays, because now it's getting wacky, right? Now that we know what Oda's doing with the sun god and like the whole solar system, anything and everything is on that goddamn table. As time goes on, I've been believing more and more that the silhouette shown in that panel with the major characters is the new Supreme Commander of the Holy Knights. And I agree, because here's the thing, right? If it's not the new Supreme Commander, who would it be? Like, people have been saying it could be the man marked by flame or a brand new pirate joining the mix, but since the story is shifting towards the world government more and more, and since we have that completely unknown faction being the Holy Knights, it's gotta be him, right? And when Dragon first gave the silhouettes of the Holy Knights, people pointed out that the person in the middle kind of looks like Shanks, but it's not Shanks, right? And then, of course, we also had silhouettes of people in the flower room with Emu as well, and we don't know who they are yet. You know, it's not the Gorosei, it's not Garling, so it's gotta be this, you know, mystery character that Oda showed in the Find the One Piece page. So I do agree, and I do think that they might be connected to Shanks, they might be connected to Garling. I'm assuming it might be somebody from the Garland family in general, which does lead us to the main reply to this, which says, what do you think about the Shanks twin brother theory? And personally, I'm a big fan of it. I do think that Shanks has a twin brother. Whether or not it'll look exactly like Shanks, I don't think so. Maybe it's like a, you know, Sanji, Ichiji, Niji, Yonji thing, where it looks like Shanks, but like maybe different hairstyle, maybe different face. Well, the face is going to be different because, you know, Shanks has the iconic scar. So maybe we'll meet a character who, you know, has different color hair and doesn't have a scar, and he has both of his arms. I think that'd be pretty damn cool. Did you notice how it was Saint Peter, the god of agriculture, who looked very uneasy after Elder Star Garland Garling was introduced as the replacement? I like how he all caps this one, right? Like, Elder Star Garling Garling. This was shown right after the food shortage was shown. I believe he knows he's on thin ice. I'm predicting now he's the next to be killed and replaced by Emu. I just looked it up again, and Oda even drew sweat lines on him. I like that. I looked at it one more time just to remember, you know, just to make sure I wasn't crazy, but Oda did draw the sweat lines, and I went back to it, and I didn't talk about this in the video, but yes, Jupiter is shaking, bro. Shaking, he's got the sweat lines, man. This could mean a couple of different things. You know, first up, maybe he was just a big fan of Saturn, right? You know, maybe he looked back at Saturn and he's like, oh god, my good friend is dead. But also, this could just mean that he's on thin ice, right? I like what you said here, and it could even go beyond that, and maybe he just doesn't like Garling. All right, when you look at the Gorosei, a lot of them are very, 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 very old. And here's the thing, Jupiter is the youngest one, by far. You know, this guy is young. People looked at this guy and initially thought that he was Sanji's dad, right? Before we met Judge, people were like, oh, you know, Jupiter's probably Sanji's dad somehow. What I'm trying to get at is that maybe he knows about Garling firsthand. Maybe they were in the same generation of Holy Knights even. And he's like, oh, this Garling guy got promoted? He's bad news. You know, like, I remember working with him and he was not a great guy. Right? It's kind of like, you know, Kuzan and Akainu maybe, where he looks at him and he's like, holy crap, this guy's a maniac, right? So I could see that being the case as well. But yeah, dude, I really want to see what's going on with Jupiter. Personally, I have my own theories about this, and I do believe that Garling might have a werewolf transformation. That's my headcanon. And if that's the case, then Jupiter, you know, in Greek and Roman mythology, he's the one who created the very first werewolf. So, like, maybe there's a tie-in there, but who knows, man. I want to see what the hell's going on with Jupiter. Back in the day, before Saturn fumbled hard in this arc, people did have a lot of theories talking about how Jupiter might be the one bad Gorosei, or the Gorosei that betrays everybody else because he is the youngest and maybe he has a, you know, alternative agenda. So that could even be the case here. Maybe Jupiter is sabotaging and he knows that he's going to get caught because Garling has a keen-ass eye. But of course, that is all speculation. Sigh, I truly believe that we'll see Emu next chapter giving Garling his power. This reminds me of the Reverie chapters where we thought there was no way we'd keep going on, but we did. Emu speaking in the anime soon is too big of a reveal to not put their face in the manga soon too. This could show that even Garling fears Emu from up close or something. Yeah, I mean, Garling could even go the opposite route, and he could just be a straight teacher's pet. Like, hey, Emu, leave it to me, you know, I'll be your best soldier. Because I could see that too. As far as the anime voice goes though, I just watched the episode, and they put a filter on it. It has this like almost robotic Darth Vader type filter on Emu's voice, and even with the voice actor, they tried their best not to actually list them at the end credits as well. So it's still very, very, very ambiguous. The thing with the voice though, like you can't tell if that is what they want to do. Like maybe we fight Emu and that's the voice they're going to keep throughout the series, or if that was a stylistic choice to just mask the voice so that the audience doesn't know what to expect. But yeah, I think the voice is kind of fascinating. It could even be a helmet, because Emu does have like a really weird shaped head. So maybe they're wearing like a helmet that blocks their voice a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot of things with Emu. I would love to get another Gorosei Garling chapter. I do think we might be even getting a Holy Knight chapter pretty soon too, because, you know, based on the same reasoning this guy used here, in the anime, we just got the Holy Knight silhouettes last episode. And those silhouettes, hey, they look pretty damn defined, right? Like they drew the white outline around every single one of them. Some of them they gave like different hairstyles to. So it does feel like Oda has those designs ready to go, and he's just gonna shoot them out whenever, you know? I think Oda had a purpose in giving L's to the VAs every time. I think the VAs will be the key to the Marines defecting from the world government. Imagine that's the case. Like, it's not even like, hey, the world government's bad, nothing like that. No, they're just like, hey, we're sick of losing. You know, the vice admirals are sick of losing, so we're leaving. We're gonna form our own faction now. So below that though, they say Saturn was so in shock that this man's didn't even want to go to Elbaf by any means. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing too, right? The vice admirals said, hey, Saturn, can we go? Right? Like, they didn't include Saturn. Like, it was just like, hey, the VAs want to go to Elbaf and stop Luffy. And Saturn still told them no. Like, it didn't even include him, right? So yeah, I mean, crazy Saturn fumbles all around the boat, and I think it's really cool that off of his death, we got so much, right? Not only were we vindicated in not liking Saturn's performance, but we got the rise of Garling, we got the VA stuff, we got like some hints as to what Emu's powers are, right? Like, there's so much out of this chapter, man, and through, every time I revisit it, I'm just reminded about how it's a goddamn 10 out of 10. But with that being said, though, thank you guys for stopping by and checking out this video with me. I really freaking appreciate it, and I will catch you guys when Chapter 1126 releases. Peace out.